Hello and welcome to another episode of Obscure and Dead Reviews. It is Wednesday again, which means we are here for you to talk about a brand new album. Well, it's not that new, it's from January, but as you can see, we have a guest with us tonight, and we will, oh my god, I didn't ask your pronouns.
He, him.
Thank you. And we will have him introduce himself after I introduce myself, and I'm Azzy.
I'm Mouse.
I'm Zander. I go by AwfullySinister on TikTok and Zander on Twitter.
Hi, Zander. Thank you so much for joining us for this review. And you actually picked out this album for
Absolutely.
us.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for letting me choose the album. That is really, really cool. I'm excited to be here and excited to talk about an album that came out in a few months ago, but has really stayed with me, really made an impact on me, and that I've pushed onto everybody who I think might enjoy it. So I'm really excited to get into the weeds and discuss this album in detail with the both of you.
Well, now that you've hyped us on it, what album are we listening to or reviewing?
Today, we are reviewing the new album by Vancouver act Girlfriends and Boyfriends. The name of the album is Fallacy of Fairness. It was released on Oraculo Records. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. This is I believe, their third album. It is the follow-up to their 2015 album, Your Garden.
Yes, awesome. This band is made up of, looks like 4 people. And then there's some guests involved as well. We have Grant Minor on bass, vocals, synths, guitars, Peter Panovic on guitars and synths, Ben Lowe on guitars, Ian Pierre Cardona on drums, and then there's some guest drums by Adam Fink, and a guest vocal somewhere. I don't have my notes.
Lindsay Lee Dakin. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but yes.
Awesome.
Yep. So one cool thing that I loved about this, I learned from postpunk.com and their indie punk darlings, Girlfriends and Boyfriends music video premiere for Dirty Words, I think it was they were talking about how 3 of the 4 members are of some kind of indigenous descent. And looking in their Bandcamp notes, it says that this album was produced and engineered by Felix Fung at Little Red Sounds on the traditional unceded lands of the I'm not going to pronounce this right. Kate, First Nation, and Coast Salish peoples. That is amazing.
Interesting.
Definitely.
So this band is bringing nicely produced indie post-punk. To me, they have a fresh, revamped sound. So much inspiration from the 80s, similar to how Vision Video, which we reviewed last week, how they take like emotionally uplifting melodies that sound reminiscent of 80s new wave or post-punk. And they mix it all together. And some of the lyrics are kind of depressing or kind of sad.
Yeah, definitely. I want to be careful how I say this because I've always really enjoyed their music, but with this album really feels like, hi, we're here. Like, we're here in your face, because it's such a difference in tone compared to their previous work. There is much more of a new wave and pop influence on this album.
There's even some
but
disco,
I don't hear
I
in that
dare to
many
say.
newer. Sorry?
There's even some disco influence, I would dare to say.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, totally. And that was a song I actually did want to talk about a little more in detail. The what's it called?
Heaven Help Me?
Color Shining Bright.
Oh yeah, Color Shining Bright too.
Yeah.
Oh, Color Shining Bright. Damn, that song.
It's so good.
Color Shining Bright is already track 3, but that one immediately stands out because it has like synth stabs in it, like beep 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 beep, like the band Yes from like the early 80s. Got your electronic drums, and it kind of reminded me of the new Fall Shock. I don't know if you listened to that, but they're like a modernized 80s new wave, or Crying Vessel as well.
Yeah.
I love that direction.
What really stood out to me about this record, I think the Chameleons and the Smiths are pretty obvious influences on this record, which is awesome, obviously. When I was listening to this album, though, it's funny, the 2 albums that came to mind for me, just in terms of the context of like the trajectory of how these bands have evolved, what their previous records sounded like. The 2 albums that came to mind for me were Brighter Than a Thousand Suns by Killing Joke and Twist of Shadows by Zymox. And the reason is because both of those albums kind of mark a a bit of a departure in what came before them, more pop influences, more willingness to kind of use more catchier, maybe to use a dirty word, mainstream melodies that weren't previously present on their albums. It just kind of, it made me think of those. And I think Color Shining Bright is a good example of that. I think Stephanie and Your Touch just have these really unapologetically poppy, dynamic, and even sort of like glammy sensibilities to them. You know, we were just talking about Color Shining Bright. To me, that when I listen to Color Shining Bright, it makes me think of like Duran Duran, especially in the bass. You know, we were talking earlier about how there's a bit of a disco influence on this record, and that's what it made me think of. You know, I know I keep comparing these like old '80s bands. Not trying to sell them short.
That's exactly what they wanted you to feel.
Yeah.
They wanted you to say, "Hey, this sounds like Modern English or The Cure," or but mostly a lot of those new wave bands, and exactly like Duran Duran as well. This band actually covered a Duran Duran track that you can pick up on their Bandcamp. So we know that that's one of their inspirations.
Yeah, they covered Careless Memories.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know. I'll have to check that out then. I have some more.
Yeah. But like that's the thing that struck me when listening through this album. You'd be going through and you'd be just like, okay, I know how this album's going to go. And then it goes a different direction. You're just like, all right, so we're going to go in that direction. And then suddenly we go in like a fourth direction or a third, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. And you're just like, okay,
I love that each song you had to listen to. It grabbed your attention because they were going to go in a different direction. It's almost as if each song reminds you of a different 80s band.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Although I do think that Your Touch and Ride With Me, right in the middle of the album, it felt like they were taking like a little Cure homage break.
Definitely The Cure.
Yeah.
Definitely. And The Cure's happy tunes. So Your Touch, I loved, especially it had a Cure-like vocal melody, but
and
Ride With
melody.
Me. Oh, bass as well. Yes, of course. The bass and the vocals I feel like are written together, and I'm wondering if that's because Grant Minor does both the bass and vocals. So he probably, if he's writing them, he's probably writing them both together. And then the track Ride With Me, which is right after that, it sounds like a Cure song I can't put my finger on at the very beginning. I don't know, maybe people can listen to it and tell me what Cure song that is. But I'm just like, I know this song. And I'm hoping somebody will tell me. But both of them also are very like upbeat, poppy, happy sounding. But I think Your Touch is a lot more emotional. Like if you listen to the vocals, it sounds almost like Twin Tribes emotional. For me, that's what I got out of it. And I love that. I thought it was very beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. And it also kind of made me think of like Kiss Me era, The Cure in a few moments. You know, a lot of, I was kind of thinking, when I was listening to this record, I was thinking about the, I guess kind of sort of post-punk 80s alternative revival that happened in the 2000s. And then I was thinking today about this, obviously just this massive influx of newer post-punk bands. A lot of, and nowadays I think what we get are a lot of kind of more somber, more dour, downtrodden kind of post-punk with murky vocals and kind of withdrawn guitars and bass and vocals like things are difficult. And I like all that stuff.
I'm thinking specifically of Final Body when you said that, and I'm just like, yeah.
Right, yeah.
There is
I like a lot of those bands.
Poppy post-punk now, though, because if you think of a band like Actors, it has like that fresh, super produced, like almost pop-like post-punk. You know, this like indie alternative that sounds inspired by that period of time you mentioned with, that was like the 2010s, early, like 2008. We're talking about that year. You know, the Postal Service and the, not the Postal Service, what's the other band? Interpol, you know, they inspired the sounds that we're hearing today. And I think that like you take a band like Actors and this sounds like they could be in the same band or open for them or something, share the stage.
Yeah, 100%. And what stands out to me about a band like Actors, or in this case, Girlfriends and Boyfriends, listening to this record, it's obvious that they have not just an understanding, but a big appreciation for a lot of 80s music, not just post-punk and cold wave, but a lot of 80s pop that was popular at the time. You know, because the sound is so big, it's so unapologetically just loud and soaring and all of its pomp and pop and just packed in each song, and not trying to withdraw itself, not trying to glower. It's just a really cool, unapologetically 80s influenced journey of 10 songs. A few years ago, the male member of 6 June put out this really cool album under the side project. I think it's pronounced Dysign or Dyson.
Dyson, yes.
Yeah, and that is called Songs About Sally. And I thought that was another really good example of somebody creating music as just a really excellent and solid understanding of what was the coolest parts of 80s new wave and 80s pop music. And I think this album, Fallacy of Fairness, does a really good job of that as well. Just the kind of brighter, sunnier side, and then songs like Heaven Help Me with the guest vocals from Lindsay Lee Dakin. That is more of that still has that same kind of loud, big, soaring vibe, but I think also kind of tones it down a little bit. It's a little more somber, a little more dark wave. It has that really lovely.
That's what Azzy said.
What I said. And the vocalizations, it reminds me of something, a specific song, and I cannot recall what it is.
I don't know. I thought it sounded like some Sisters of Mercy songs where you have like the wailing in the background. Because right around the middle, when they had the electric guitar solo and Lindsay singing in the background.
That vocalization. I know that it's reminding you of Sisters of Mercy, but for me, it's something completely else, and I don't remember what it is, but it sounds like something that we would hear on like a disco stream or like a new wave pop stream, like that specific style of vocalization. And I have it in my head, and I cannot recall where I've heard that before, and it's bothering me so bad.
That's like me trying to figure out that one Cure song.
One thing that it reminded me of, and I have no way of knowing if this is what they were thinking of, it's entirely possible they didn't, but when Depeche Mode made their live album of Songs of Faith and Devotion, where it was just them, it was just live recordings of each song from Songs of Faith and Devotion. At the end of In Your Room, there's this amazing vocal performance of one of the backup singers. Really, really intense, powerful, dark, emotional wailing that it's almost like Great Gig in the Sky by Pink Floyd, but just much more intense, much more harrowing and dark, and much more Depeche Mode. And that's almost, whenever I hear these types of vocalizations in like dark wave or new wave or post-punk music, I always come back to that moment in that live version of In Your Room, because I remember hearing it as a teenager and just like, it just gave me goosebumps. That's the first thing I thought of when I heard it.
Azzy, did you say Dead or Alive?
There was something in there that reminded me of it.
Brand New Lover, right?
Probably. I'm just kidding. I'm like looking at the damn list, and I'm just like, oh man,
one of the things I really enjoyed about this album was it has a perfect blend and marriage between the synths and the guitars and the bass. So like the guitars and bass over here, completely balanced, and the synths, there's just enough so that no single song is too synth heavy or too guitar heavy.
And honestly, I'm not surprised. We're hearing this kind of really balanced sound, especially one that pulls from a lot of like 80s pop and 80s post-punk, and balancing it with like what's going on today, modern techniques, and like guitar sounds like you would hear in more of a post-punk vibe coming out of Vancouver.
Oh, yay, Canada.
Yeah, like Vancouver just is rife with this right now, and I think that's so cool.
Yeah, it's in Vancouver also, another really good post-punk act out of there that's been going for a few years now is Spectres, who put out really good stuff.
Oh, yes.
As well. Yeah, another thing that really stood out to me about this album, I listen to all kinds of music and I appreciate all types of musicianship, but just the way that they compose these songs, the guitar riffs and the bass, these are good musicians. Like, these are really good musicians who have extremely good handling on what they are playing. And I think the virtuosity is very apparent. And it's not always apparent in post-punk bands, which is okay. That's not
No, they know exactly what they're doing with harmony.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the way they do it, the way these melodies that they create, they're sophisticated, and they're coming from people who have done their due diligence in practicing and studying their instruments. And I think that's really, really cool. And I think that's one of the most remarkable things about this album, and really part of why I think it stood out so much to me when I first heard it.
And in hearing this, I was surprised that they're not more popular than they are. Because they are excellent musicians. Right?
Yeah.
And this is an excellent record. So let's go shout it from the rooftops. And say
it's so excellent that they are on Canada's national chart. Like, this band managed to chart in Canada.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Right? Although post-punk and new wave is kind of doing that right now. Like, I just found out today, and I've been telling everybody, Molchat Doma managed to chart on Billboard's world chart at number 12.
That surprised me. Yeah.
Congratulations. But are they charting because they're good, or are they charting because they're popular right now?
I can't answer that for Molchat Doma. I can answer that for this band.
Well, they are good.
They've been trending on TikTok for forever.
But they're trending on TikTok, which good job, kids.
Yeah, I think they got signed to Molchat Doma. What did they sign to recently? Was it Sacred Bones?
Originally, they were on Detrity Records.
Right.
Were they on Sacred Bones afterwards? I think they jumped from Detrity.
Yeah, they're no longer in Detrity. I thought it was maybe Mute or Sacred Bones. I can't remember though.
I do not remember.
And every time they end up on a new album, a new label, they re-release their albums.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's one good thing about record labels not having exclusive rights anymore.
Zander, what was your favorite track on this album?
It's a tall order. I hemmed and hawed over this, but I think I have to give the nod to Color Shining Bright. I just think that is such a cool song. I think it's so catchy. I think it's so like anthemic. I am dying to spin this song in one of my next DJ gigs and see what the reaction is like on the dance floor. I think it's so cool. I want everybody to know about that song in particular. It's one of my favorite songs of 2021. And
awesome.
The first time I heard it, I was like, oh my God, like I am in for something special on this album. So that's my pick.
I would also choose Color Shining Bright. Just blew me away. I love that track. I also liked the song Your Touch. It sounded so personal and sentimental, but it was still like very loud, like you said. Like it's just like out there, poppy and emotional. Abby, what was your favorite?
Probably Your Touch, because I really love the bass line, and that'll sell me on a song every time. And then I'd say behind that would probably be Dirty Words, which we didn't talk about, but is really Smiths-esque. And I like that because I don't have to deal with Morrissey when I listen to it.
It is very Smiths-esque. And I think there's even, is it in Dirty Words? Yeah, in Dirty Words, there's a line that actually reminds me of something that Morrissey would have written for a Smith song. And it's, you wouldn't hate me so much if you didn't care, which I think is...
I wonder if that's a nod. I wonder if that's tongue-in-cheek, like they knew exactly what they were doing.
I think they did, yeah. The first time I heard that, I was like, do I hear a bit of Morrissey in that line? Because I couldn't help but like Smith's era Morrissey before he went solo. Like that sounds like a little bit of a Smith's line. That was pretty cool. But yeah, I agree. It is definitely that same sort of, what's the phrase? Jangle pop? Would that be a fair descriptor?
I would use Jangle pop. Yeah.
Jangle pop?
Mm-hmm. Like later Cure and later Susie and Smiths. Oh. Yeah.
Not like Django the movie.
The Jangle. L-E.
Jangle. Oh, like Jingle Jangle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I got spurs, they jingle, jangle, jingle.
All right.
So Zander.
That about sums it up.
Yeah,
that about sums it up. Zander, where can people find you if they want to hear more about your music opinions?
Which... Who doesn't want to hear my music opinions? You can find me on TikTok. My username is AwfullySinister, just one word. And then on Twitter, where I'm also very active, you can find me under the username at HEXXZANDER. That's Hexzander. Those are probably my two most active social media profiles. On TikTok, I talk about music a lot. On Twitter, I also talk about music a lot, but I'm also just kind of a no filter, whatever comes to my head. It's that's my personality, perfect. I guess, on Twitter. So
it was absolutely awesome to have you here reviewing this with us today.
Absolutely, it was my pleasure. It was a lot of fun, and
love
thank
music.
you so much for having me.
All right, so yeah, I guess that wraps it up. As always, we like to take the end of our videos to thank the people who help make this possible, and that is you, the viewer, for watching, which I know it sounds cliche and cheesy, but suck it up, I'm going to say it anyway. And also our Patreon and Twitch supporters. We say it every week, but without you, we wouldn't be able to do this. And without Zander, right now, in this very moment. So join us on Fridays for our... what do we do on Fridays? Our virtual clubs, which we're going to be changing how those work in the coming months because shit's opening back up and we want to go party. Sorry. And that's it. Bye. Unless Mouse has an affirmation.
Oh, I do. Oh, okay. So just a couple of seconds. I wanted to tell you that you are special. You may not realize it, but there's only one of you. And even though you don't feel like it, you're an awesome person. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your week and kill it.
Bye for real.
This ignorance of consciousness, despair the